Good evening, Belize, and welcome to XTV's news broadcast for Thursday, November 14, 2024. Making the headlines tonight. Tropical storm Sarah expected to make landfall in Belize by Sunday night. Investors turned back by Feinstein Security at Stake Bank and new general manager appointed for the National Bank. We take our first break and return with the news in detail.
Classic.
Welcome back. With your news, I am Marisol Amaya. The effects of now tropical storm Sarah started impacting Belize today, and the system is predicted to make landfall in Belize by Sunday evening as a tropical storm, or worst case scenario as a weak Category 1 hurricane. An excessive rainfall warning is currently in effect for the entire country. A press conference was held at 9 this morning on what can be expected. At the time, the system was predicted to stall for at least 24 to 36 hours just north of Honduras, then eventually begin moving northwest into our area. We hear from Chief Meteorologist Ronald Gordon.
So there is a good chance that Belize, a very likely chance that Belize will be impacted by a tropical storm sometime on Sunday, late Sunday, possibly Monday morning. Timing is also variable because no one can predict exactly when. These models, again, are not perfect. So I need to make that emphatically clear. So what are the potential impacts based on what I've presented? Rainfall. That's what the system is going to produce. So what you're seeing on the screen now is the rainfall accumulation predicted again by a model. So bear in mind that it doesn't have to be that exact value. But what you're seeing, these shades of orange into red indicate very high rainfall. And this is from 6 or midnight last night or this morning to about midnight on Monday. So accumulation over a 5-day period of about, I would say here, upwards of 10 inches of rainfall, possibly even higher across parts of Belize, and of course over Honduras where the system is stationary. So there'll be significant rainfall from the system as indicated by these models. In regards to the peculiarity of it forming this late in the season, not unprecedented, but yes, we know for the most part, systems do not form this late, especially for us. However, we do know that we're transitioning, or if not already in La Nina conditions, which typically means that you would have a more active end of season, which is what we are seeing. Also, another favorable factor is warm ocean waters. The last I looked, we were at about 29 degrees Celsius, which is 1 degree Celsius above normal in our area. By the way, the threshold for tropical systems to even form is 26 degrees Celsius. We are at 29, so we're well above that threshold. But in terms of what is normal for this time of the year, it is about 28 Celsius. By November, we start getting our waters cooling down, and currently we are at 29, so we're about 1 degree Celsius above normal. And like I mentioned before, these systems feed or get their energy source from warm ocean waters. So certainly that's a favorable factor. But apart from that, the atmospheric factors are also favorable. There's light wind shear, and therefore there's a lot of moisture. So we have about 3 favorable factors for it to intensify. The only hindering factor is interaction with land over Honduras. That's the main factor hindering it, that we expect it to not develop as much as it could.
In terms of winds, the projections are now for 50 to 60 miles per hour when it comes ashore, though the intensity can change. Strong winds can result in minor damage to weak structures. Principal hydrologist Tenil Hende provided an update on the flood forecast, given that 5 to 10 inches of rainfall are expected with locally higher values.
With the estimated accumulation of 10 inches of rainfall over a 5-day period, what we can expect that we will be seeing flooding in those areas that will be affected. The areas that are already flooded, if you receive additional rainfall, we can see the extent widening in these areas, and when it cannot what we say spread out anymore, the extent it will go deeper. So we might see an increase in the flood level height, or the height of the water in your area.
Already, the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, is in some areas assisting with flooding due to prior rains. Here is National NEMO Coordinator Daniel Mendez.
NEMO has actually been in continuous operations over the past few weeks. We have been providing support to flood flood-prone areas, and let me share you some examples of these. Currently, we are supporting two areas that are currently being impacted by flood. These are the villages of San Roman on the Rio Hondo and San Antonio. As you are aware, that these areas are currently impassable by road. So we have been providing support to those. Currently, what I'm showing you is a satellite image that was taken a few days ago. Note that this is older imagery. It is very difficult to get good or recent imagery because of different cloud covers, which make it almost impossible for us to see. But what this is showing you is the as of November the 2nd, the water levels along the Rio Hondo. So we are currently supporting boat operations in the Rio San Antonio area, where residents are ferried across this flooded area highlighted in blue by boat. In the San Roman area, you will also note that the darker areas are flood areas that are currently underwater via a boat that is provided by the Belize Defense Force and also by a Belize Defense Force truck, which is also ferrying residents across these flooded areas. Currently, we're also monitoring the increasing levels in the village of Douglas. There are currently 2 families in shelter there. And as I stated before, in San Roman and Santa Cruz area, we are continuing the support of ferrying of workers and students utilizing BDF trucks and boats. I just want to reiterate that as Tropical Depression 19 advances, the importance of continuous planning remains. We are still in a hurricane season, and it's still a very active season. People, all residents, all interests across the country need to remain prepared. Particularly persons living in flood-prone areas need to keep on monitoring the system and to be prepared to take action if necessary.
As to mandating the closure of businesses, Mendez said they would be guided by the information from the Met Service, and it is the chairman of NEMO, the Prime Minister, who gives the go-ahead for that command. Mendez failed to indicate if there is a cut-off time for NEMO to make a decision on this issue based on predicted estimated time of landfall. Shelters will be opened based on need as determined by the district emergency management organizations. NEMO released its advisory number 1 at 3:30 this afternoon, informing that Sarah had slowed down from 14 miles per hour to 10 miles per hour and was moving west with maximum sustained winds of 40 miles per hour. A westward motion at a slower forward speed is expected during the next 2 days as the system moves closer to the northern coast of Honduras. Reports are that a group of investors was disallowed from getting onto State Bank Island on Wednesday. The indication is they were taken there by officials from UPSA looking to sell off the stalled project. The Honduran UPSA group bought over the State Bank debt from Atlantic Bank earlier this year. However, the investors and the UPSA officials were turned back by Michael Feinstein's security personnel. If you may recall, the 23.4-acre extension around the island is currently in dispute as just that portion of the land is in Feinstein's name, while the inside portion is in the name of State Bank, currently under receivership. Former chief policy analyst at the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry and former editor of the Reporter newspaper, Dion Elliott, has been appointed as the new general manager of the National Bank of Belize. Elliott had already been serving as the bank's head of business development, marketing and strategy. He holds a Master of Science in Economics and Banking and Finance. The appointment took effect November 1st. He succeeds Alvaro Alamina, who led the bank for a decade. With yet another tropical system threatening Belize this hurricane season, after what feels like little warning, residents will have to make quick decisions. One set of residents have even more decisions to make. K. Raymark Theos, the president of the Belize Assembly for Persons with Diverse Abilities, BAPDA, said that for persons with disabilities, even getting to a shelter if the need arises is not simple. Theos explains that there is assistance provided to those with disabilities, but many times they have to rely on volunteers with vehicles.
Well, we have a seat on NEMO for Belize City, and they had a meeting this morning at 10:30. And also too, in the event that something like, if it gets serious, also then CMO, I guess, would be activated as well. And CMO has already pledged to assist us in getting our supplies to the shelter. And our supplies are mainly things that the disabled or elderly might need while they're there, having to do with bandages or cleaning supplies, adult diapers, things of that sort. So we put those in place for them. If a member is in need of assistance, they will reach out to us and they will tell us, well, this is what I need, this is where I'm at, and then we try to get back to CMO as before, and then CMO would or NEMO would arrange pickup and transfer from wherever they are to a better situation. They have another bus that they use. Sometimes they use a bus from the Inspiration Center. Also, NEMO has use of vehicles from government, and also not only does that, but also the BDF as well. It depends on the severity, because if you're like in the River Valley and those areas, obviously you need a BDF truck because the water might be higher than what you would find in the city.
Theus advised that with the effects of climate change already here, it may be the norm that we have less time to prepare for tropical storms and hurricanes, and emphasized the importance of having a plan and food items already stocked. However, he admits that even during the best of times, some may find it difficult to get meals, let alone save for emergencies.
And that climate change is upon us, and things will change and change rapidly. So we have to adjust as well. So it's important that the authorities and those that are in the business of providing services to those who need it during an emergency understand that as well, and the citizenry to understand the reason why these things are happening. Also, to be better prepared in their own homes, because we sing the same song every time, have three days of food available, and some people take it as a joke, think it's not important, but it will become more and more important, because what happens is that if this thing is upon you, and literally now it gives you a day or two to get out the way or to do what you need to do, then you need to have some stuff at hand, because the stores will be swamped. And for a disabled person, that's extra hard, because they are not even able to get out of their house in some cases. And when they do, they cannot go into a shop that is crowded, overcrowded, and compete with anybody to get a pound of beans and a pound of rice. They can't do it. So that means that they're left out, they're excluded again. So they need to make sure, that they have stuff, the basics. And that's hard too, because then in some cases they don't have the money to even buy the basics. But in those cases, then that's where the state comes in and assists, or organizations such as us. We can't feed anybody, but we can try to make sure that food comes to you somehow.
And in an update to a headline story, the Ministry of Immigration has issued a press release indicating that 15 people are being housed at a hotel in the Belize district pending repatriation, and that they are under guard. The ministry notes that of those 15, 11 are Jamaican nationals, 6 adults and 5 minors, who arrived since November 14 through to November 11. 4 others are Brazilian and entered Belize on November 11 on a Copa flight from Panama. According to the Ministry of Immigration, they were found inadmissible for 1 or more reasons, including that they did not have a return ticket to their country of origin. The ministry also notifies that 3 of the Jamaican nationals indeed are seeking judicial review in this matter, and therefore they cannot discuss the issue. It states, quote, "The government of Belize, through the Department of Border Management and Immigration Services, remains vigilant on the number of Jamaicans, among other nationals, that are using Belize as a transit point to reach the United States and Canada. The suspected smuggling of anyone, particularly minors, through Belize will under no circumstances be countenanced. The acting port commander has informed the Department of Human Services on the matter of the children in custody, end quote. And after the break, group of an estimated 20 Jamaicans denied entry. Stay with us. Welcome back. The news continues. With Tropical Storm Sara approaching the Belizean coastline, the country is in for another wet weekend. Lately, with increased rainfall and more to come, the Ministry of Infrastructure, Development and Housing has been busy keeping an eye on the country's road network. Today, Chief Engineer Evandale Moody said the ministry has been proactive since before the start of the hurricane season.
From the onset of the hurricane season, the Minister Spot, CEO Spot, and myself, we basically put a plan in motion for the entire hurricane season. And so we've met regularly every Tuesday with the technical team. So even though we don't have any storms, there are works that we are doing in preparation for the event that we have a storm. So in each of our districts, we have stockpiled already materials in the event that we have washout on certain roads that we have material readily available. In each district, we have extra culverts that we have procured of various sizes. So those are also available in the event we have washout on roads or secondary roads or former roads that needs to be addressed immediately. Our equipments are also have been serviced and ready to move. So what we'll do, we'll have another meeting tomorrow morning, basically to strategize on how we go, depending upon where the storm will make landfall and where it affects more significantly. The ideal plan is that we will have most of our equipment in the Belmont area. From there, we could move out into the districts, whether it's Belize City, the Orange Rock and Marisol district, or the south or the west. So we have been doing a number of things to have everything in place in the event we have to mobilize.
The Hawksworth Bridge, which connects the twin towns of San Ignacio and Santa Elena in the Cayo district, was closed for a few months for the bridge to get much needed maintenance. On Wednesday, there was a soft reopening of the bridge. Chief Engineer at the Ministry of Infrastructure, Development and Housing, Evandale Moody, explained what all was done.
The ministry has done some work on that structure previously, but not to the extent that we have done this year. And so we commenced those works in March to do a complete rehabilitation of the structure because there was a number of things that required significant maintenance, such as the girders for the structure, the vertical hangers, the two towers that it has, also the anchor chambers, which are the chambers that hold the cable strands to the bridge structure itself. And so we did significant rehabilitation works on the entire structure, including the deck for the pedestrian footpath and also the barriers that were there before and used to be some wooden barriers. We've changed those to metal barriers as well. We did some works to the piers as well, and also to the abutments. So with these works, we expect that we have extended the life of that bridge, I would say another 20 years. And so cumulative, that bridge could last us another 50 years with proper maintenance by the ministry. So that is the key thing that must be done for us to extend the longevity of the bridge itself. It's the only suspension bridge in this part of the world itself. And so if we could maintain that, then I think it could extend its life even longer.
Moody said should there be a need to replace the Hawksworth Bridge in the future, it would need to be a structure similar to what is there now due to limited space.
Bear in mind that we have already done that because the new bridge structure located downstream is the new McCallum Bridge crossing. And so that was envisaged several years ago, and that was the reason why we built the new bridge in the event that we have to remove the existing suspension bridge that is there. There's a possibility that we may need to replace it down the road. However, once you replace that structure, more than likely it would have to be replaced with a similar structure because of the location that it is, close to the police station, the fuel station, and on the Santa Elena side, that's already developed. And so there's not much room for widening for a new structure. And so if we do decide to replace that in the future with an existing structure, with a new structure at the existing location, it would have to be something similar to what is there now.
In other news, the Statistical Institute of Belize, SIB, has finally released the village and community population figures which were gathered during the 2022 census. The SIB had previously released the population figures for the municipalities. However, the village and community population figures were delayed due to the SIB needing to verify the various village and community boundaries. The village with the highest population in the country continues to be Ladyville in the Belize district with a population of 7,655. Now ranking in second place is Bella Vista in the Toledo district with a population of 6,259. Trial Farm in the Orange Walk district, which ranked second in the last census, now ranks third with a population of 5,850. What is interesting to note is that all of these three villages now rival the 9 municipalities in terms of total population. Ladyville is now the 8th largest population center in the country, just behind Corozal Town and ahead of Benque Viejo del Carmen. Bella Vista and Trial Farm are the 10th and 11th largest population centers, both ranking ahead of Punta Gorda, which now ranks 12th. This means that Bella Vista in northern Toledo, with a population of 6,259, is the largest population center in the Toledo district. Punta Gorda, the district capital, has a population of just 5,406. That is 853 fewer people than Bella Vista. That village is also now the largest community in the northern Toledo, southern Stan Creek region, surpassing even Independence and Placencia in Stan Creek, which have populations of 4,878 and 1,586 respectively. The total population of other key communities are Lord's Bank with 4,876, Key Cocker with 2,729, Spanish Lookout with 3,108, Roaring Creek with 2,430, Hopkins with 1,767, Shipyard with 4,070, Guinea Grass with 3,821, and Sartaneja with 1,874. After the break, Chief Engineer speaks about expected new look for Belcan and Swing Bridge. Stay tuned. Down our newscast, we report that areas in the Cayo district are experiencing severe flooding, including Benqueviejo, San Ignacio, and Arenal village, as well as the community of Bullet Tree. In other news, they might not be replaced as quickly as Belize City residents would like, but the city is to get 2 new replacement bridges in the next few years. The Taiwanese government is expected to assist with replacing the Belcan Bridge, while the Japanese government is to fund the replacement of the Swing Bridge. Last month, Chief Engineer Evandale Moody revealed that the new Swing Bridge would no longer swing. Today, he told Creme News XTV what the 2 bridges would look like when finally replaced.
Yes, the new structure for the Belize City Swing Bridge will be a fixed structure. It will not be a structure that will be movable anymore. Reason being is that there's not much vessels going along the Halover Creek for us to have it to be rotated, so it doesn't really make any sense. And so the structure that will be there, it's a pile structure. It's a reinforced concrete bridge itself, similar to the Halover Bridge, but not that extensive. It's because it's a shorter span bridge, but it will have 2 piers in the river, and it will have 2 abutments, and it will carry the same girders similar to what Halover Bridge has. So it will be a structure similar to Halover, but on a smaller scale.
And for Belcan, is there you have a vision for that already?
Yes, Belcan is identical to the Swing Bridge, but it's longer because Belcan Bridge is about 90 meters in span. And so it will be a similar structure as well. And that will also have 2 piers in the river. We will have to remove the existing turntable that is there because that is not functioning anymore. And it will have 2 abutments. So it will be a similar structure as well, but on a longer span.
The People's Constitution Commission, PCC, had filed for a 6-month extension prior to the May deadline of 18 months earlier this year, when a report needed to be submitted to the Prime Minister. The new deadline to submit the final report was November 17, and while the PCC is in the final stage of its assessment, they need more time. Therefore, a second extension was requested, which had to go to the House of Representatives for approval. Honorable Henry Usher explained what happens next.
Remember, the legislation that created the People's Constitution Commission had a term of 18 months. It gave the Commission a term of 18 months, which started in November of 2022 and expired in May of 2024. The legislation contemplated an extension of 6 months, which the chairman of the PCC applied for before the deadline in May, and that extension was given up to November the 17th, 2024. The PCC is now in its final stage. As you may recall, it had 3 main phases: to educate the Belizean public on the Constitution, to consult with the Belizean public about any changes they would like to see in the Constitution, and then, of course, to prepare the final report that will be presented to the Prime Minister. They are in their final stage. From what I understand from our representatives at the PCC, by that I mean our party's representatives, the raw data coming from around the country, including from the diaspora, is being put together, and a final report needs to be prepared. Now, of course, we want to give the stakeholders every opportunity to be able to respond and to comment on this final, on this raw data. If an extension was not granted, then the report had to be presented to the Prime Minister November the 17th, which is this weekend. So the chairman, after meeting with the Commission, made a request to the Prime Minister for another extension. However, the legislation did not contemplate another extension, so we had to go to the House yesterday to introduce and to read through its 3 readings an amendment to the section dealing with the extension so that we could give one final extension, which was approved by the House. It needs now to be approved by the Senate, but that extension goes up to May of 2025 for the final report to be submitted to the Prime Minister.
Garifuna Settlement Day is right around the corner, and Mayor Bernard Wagner yesterday said Belize City is ready to honor the historic day. Mayor Wagner also encouraged city residents to celebrate the day in Belize City instead of traveling south.
Yeah, we are ready. I opened the Belize City branch Garifuna activities about a week or 2 ago, and we are excited. We'll participate in the 19th activities, and we always embrace the Garifuna heritage.
We know most people head to Dangriga, but tell us why we should stay in Belize City to celebrate.
Stay in Belize City. We are residents of Belize City. I love Dangriga tongue. I love the Garifuna culture, but I'll spend it in Belize City.
In political news, it's apparent that the People's United Party is gearing up for general elections. While the Prime Minister has often affirmed elections won't be called before 2025, many feel it will be called very early in the year and certainly by March. On Wednesday, Chairman of the PUP, Honorable Henry Usher, was asked about the possibility of early elections.
PUP is ready for elections whenever the Prime Minister is ready to call those elections. I think that, as you know, we went through our convention process. We have Team 31 in place. We are getting all of the campaigners and computer operators, etc., ready. And that's what we're working on right now. So when the Prime Minister says, let's go, we're ready to go.
But as the party's chairman, don't you think it would be maybe opportune or a strategic move to hold the elections before March next year?
I leave strategy up to the Prime Minister, Vijay, but certainly whenever he says, Chairman, it's time for us to go to the polls, we'll be ready.
And as we inch closer to general elections, it seems the UDP is nowhere near sorting out its internal problems. If both factions enter the elections as separate entities, which faction gets to claim the color red? The PUP's chairman, Honorable Henry Usher, was asked on Wednesday what the protocol would be. He said it would be the Chief Elections Officer who would decide, but that the matter is mostly a matter of formality.
That's a decision that the Chief Elections Officer would need to make. But certainly you have to remember, I think that one of the sides was asking the election and boundaries to determine who was the real UDP. But that's not something that election and boundaries gets involved in. As a matter of fact, they don't recognize parties. When we are nominated as a candidate, I am nominated as my name, Henry Usher. Now I have to choose a color that I am going to run with, and of course I would choose blue. But it's not that we are nominated as a member of the PUP or anybody else is nominated as a member of the UDP. You're nominated as an individual in the particular constituency that you want to represent. Now, in terms of the decision as to who gets which color, that's up for the Chief Elections Officer. The tradition has been that the Chief will always say, okay, PUP, is your slate of 31 candidates? And those 31 candidates get the blue color. Same thing to the UDP, who are your candidates, so that they can get the color red. But that's just a tradition. That's not found in any law, and certainly it's a decision that the Chief Elections Officer would need to make.
And with that, we have come to the end of our newscast. I repeat, can be viewed on this station later tonight at 9 and again tomorrow at midday. Join us again tomorrow for another news broadcast. I am Marisol Amaya. Have a safe and enjoyable evening.